College basketball show. It is Saturday, February the 26th. Ian Cameron and Connor Mack with you. We are ready to break down another Saturday in college basketball. This is the final regular season game for some teams in these lower conferences, these very smaller mid-major conferences, because some of these conferences are going into their conference tournaments starting as early as Monday and Tuesday this week. So there's a few regular season finales. One of the biggest games on the board, and we're going to get to it actually, believe it or not, there's a regular season conference championship on the line today, this afternoon, in the Northeast Conference. Wagner and Bryant. It's one of the games I'm most excited about today. I know everyone's thinking Kentucky, Arkansas, Kansas and Baylor, Duke and Syracuse, and there's all kinds of these big national TV power conference games going on. But it's Wagner and Bryant, man, that's getting me fired up for a Saturday. And not to mention Loyola Chicago and Northern Iowa, another de facto regular season conference championship game right there. The winner of that game is going to win the regular season title in the Missouri Valley, Loyola Chicago and Northern Iowa. So a couple of interesting games. C-Mac, how are you on a Saturday?
Ready to rock.
Let's do it. We got a huge card. Let's jump right into it. We got the Battle of Bedlam basketball version to get us going. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. Oklahoma 3.5-point home favorites. 131 being the total in this game. Obviously, for a team like Oklahoma State, there's no postseason for them this year. You know, games like this, do they bring that added incentive to want to, close out? I guess if there's a national championship game for them, it's this game. Probably was the Baylor game as well on Monday night, where it was a great effort from the Cowboys, but they ended up losing 66-64 in overtime at home. See if they can bounce back here in this one. Oklahoma's struggling. There's no other way around it. I mean, they're on a 1-7 slide. Straight up, that is, in their last 8 games. The only win was a home win against Texas Tech, and I'm shocked they beat Texas Tech at home, considering what else they've done of late. They lose to Oklahoma State in the first meeting on the road. They lose at home to TCU. Now, the last few games, there's been some tough games. I mean, Texas Tech and revenge, they were up against it there. Texas is a tough game. They lost in overtime. Kansas, obviously. They've played some pretty tough competition these last 4. Iowa State's not easy to beat at Hilton Coliseum as well, and they lost to the Cyclones. To me, when I look at this line, Connor, and I say, how can Oklahoma, with as poorly as they're playing, be laying 3.5? And it kind of makes me think I got to go with the Sooners if I'm going to bet this game, with them laying 3.5. They're in revenge. I know they're not playing well, but Oklahoma State, final regular, there's a couple more regular season games for them in the Big 12, but coming off the Baylor loss, could be difficult. To me, with Oklahoma playing as badly as they are, and yet odds makers have them set 3.5 here in this game, makes me think they might be the right side. Not that I'm in love with it, but probably would lean Oklahoma. What do you think?
I'm not in love with it either. I like this a lot better at 2.5. You mentioned it. This is why this is so tough, is because the Battle of Bedlam here. I know, not as huge as football, but probably this is the last big game Oklahoma State gets up for. Obviously, they're not going to the tournament with all that. So this is it. I think this is their season. So it's, to me, it just back at home. This is a perfect spot. They've lost 4 in a row. Just lay it here with Oklahoma. But I'd be leery of this morning spot. And I could only look under if I were to play the total. I know the first matchup, 64-55. I think it's probably more similar. Oklahoma has struggled to score the basketball as of late. I mean, if they can hit shots, this could get over. But early morning here, I'd only look under.
Yeah, I think that the early start, 2 teams that aren't exactly fluid at the offensive end of the floor, definitely could lead to an under. I do want to clarify what Ryan is saying in our chat. It says Detroit has been burning money at home, 8-0 straight up. They've been on fire at home is what you mean. Burning money means they've been losing you money.
Yeah, they've been on fire at home.
They've been on fire at home. I think you meant is that they've been on fire, but you said burning. Burning money is when they've been losing you money. Or at least that's what I thought the term meant. Yeah, burning money. Yeah, that means they're losing you money. Detroit is definitely not doing that at home. Detroit is, you're right, Ryan, about that. They're on fire at home. They're just a point spread machine, and they have been cashing tickets left and right at home this year. And they are playing today, and they are at home today. And I ain't going against them at home today. We won't talk too much about it. They're playing IPFW, Purdue, Fort Wayne, but you won't see me betting against Detroit at home, no question. All right, let's go to. I'm going to throw out a quick recommendation. We won't go in depth. It's Elon Northeastern. I think the total is a little low here. I mean, Northeastern doesn't play great defense. They actually have started to score a little bit. Certainly they did against William and Mary, although that's not saying a whole lot. I know they held William and Mary to a crazy low number, but I don't think that's going to happen here with Elon. Unlike William and Mary, there is some semblance of offense for this team. The total has actually been bet up slightly, high 120s to low 130s in this one. They got to 141 in the first meeting, 79 points for Elon against Northeastern. And let's not forget, before that debacle, that's a disgrace, by the way, by William and Mary to shoot 11 of 51, 28 points in a 40-minute college basketball game. It's absolutely pathetic as far as I'm concerned. Against against the Northeastern team that had given up 83 to Charleston, 76 to Clara, 74 to Delaware. I mean, really been struggling at the defensive end. But their offense, I think, can score a little bit here. The one thing about Elon, they've given up 71, 71, 97, 86 points for their last 5 games. I don't buy into the fact they held Hofstra to 55 as a sign that they're going to be great defensively every game. So I think the over's a low number there in that Elon Northeastern game.
Yeah, I'm definitely not playing this game in the morning. I know they won the other day, but I will not back Northeastern laying a number at home. I don't think they found something just because of that. I think that was just an absolute horrible game by William and Mary. I bet you they're catching. We could touch on them later real quick. We probably don't have time, but they're catching 17 today. I bet you they cover. So William and Mary, I bet they shoot the ball better. It just that performance was absolutely pathetic to watch. But it doesn't make me want to run to the window and back Northeastern, Elon either. Maybe it gets over. Northeastern's not very good. Like their stats, they give up more points. They only score like 64 a game and they give up like 72 or something like that. So when you have teams like that, it could slide over this 130.
This next one's tricky. Florida, Georgia. Florida 9-point road favorites, 144. I mean, to me, this probably has to be either full game over or Florida team total over because I don't know. Georgia looks like they've tapped out. They've mailed it in. I don't know what it is, but they actually had a couple games where they showed up at home. They beat Alabama, if you remember, back in January. They almost beat at the time #1 Auburn at home, lost by 2. I mean, they took Auburn right down to the wire. But look at these last 4 games for Georgia. They've been absolutely hideous. 12-point loss at home to South Carolina, who are actually playing better. Still, middle of the pack SEC team. At LSU, they get blasted by 19. Ole Miss, they lose by 17 at home. They give up 80, 84, and 85 in those games. And then the last game on the road against A&M. And A&M is not like a Gonzaga, for Christ's sake, offensively. And 91, they scored 91. That's A&M doing that to this Georgia team. 91 points and ended up shooting 32 of 57. I think they've absolutely quit. At least defensively they have. So for me, I'd rather do Florida team total over than lay 9 with them. Just laying 9 on the road with Florida is just not something I'm going to do. But can you really stomach taking Georgia? They look like they have completely packed it in. They've completely folded the tent. They've gone home. Tom Crean's going to be out after this season. There's no way he's coming back here to Georgia and there's been no progress, none, zero with this program. And it looks like Florida's kind of going through Georgia rather, going through the motions and wanting to get this season over with. So it's tough. I mean, I don't want to lay at 9 with Florida, but I don't think I could get there with Georgia just because we've seen just absolutely zero effort on the defensive end from them the last 4 games. So I'd lean over full game. I'd lean Florida team total over probably. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, this is ugly. I want nothing to do with it. Like you talked about, Georgia just seems like they've quit. I mean, losing at these home games by this big a number, South Carolina to Ole Miss, just beat downs. Like, I think double digits at home, I want Georgia. They've been horrible. And you're right, they're right back to being basically over team. The last time they went under was at Florida, 72-63. That's when Florida was dealing with some of their injuries. I want nothing to do with it here. I mean, I like your Florida team total a little bit. This team plays zero defense at all. I think it's really if Florida's just slow paced and is missing shots. That's their only problem that could keep that total under.
Yeah. Purdue, Michigan State. We got Purdue 5-point road favorites, 146.5 the total in this game. here's another opportunity for Michigan State. They've had opportunities galore to step up here and get out of this funk that they're in. They had a home game against Wisconsin, couldn't get it done. Road game at Rutgers, couldn't get it done. Bad loss to Penn State on the road, who are mediocre. They actually, one of their better efforts was last Saturday. Michigan State had me sweating that one. Last Saturday, I told you on the show last Saturday, I bet Illinois in that game against Michigan State. And Illinois was leading the whole way, but man, Michigan State kept coming, and it never went away, and Illinois had to survive at the end. And then they turned around, and I thought after that Illinois game, rather than a letdown, I thought, you know what? They gave Illinois one heck of a game there. They could go to Iowa and compete, and I don't know what the fuck happened. 86-60. Ugly for Tom Izzo and the Spartans. They lose by 26. No defense whatsoever to be had in that game. That's two really bad defensive games in a row. I can understand Illinois doing it a little bit, but Iowa, though, on the road to get shellacked like that, just not a good sign. They better shore up that defense because they got Purdue rolling in, one of the most efficient, powerful offenses in the country. Although they haven't been necessarily as electrifying offensively lately, but they got back on track against Rutgers, putting 84 on the board against them. And we know they still got terrific inside-outside balance. Zach Edey inside, our fellow Canadian. And, of course, Stefanovic from the outside, Jaden Ivey from the outside. It's just a lot to deal with if you're Michigan State. And I don't know how they're going to match up with Edey, to be quite honest with you. The one thing about Michigan State, that's not a great front court of theirs. How the hell are they going to keep Edey off the glass in this game? I just don't know if they have an answer. I think this is a Purdue team total over or a full game over more than anything else. I think I like the full game over because the one thing about Michigan State, especially the last time we saw them at Breslin Center, put up a great fight against Illinois, and this is desperate times for them. So I would expect an all-out effort here from them. I don't have the guts to trust them still, even getting 5 as a home dog here, because I think Purdue can score at will. I think it's a bad defensive matchup for a team that's just not stopping anybody the last couple games, Michigan State. I'd probably rather have the over 146.5 than anything else in this game. What do you think, Connor? A Big Ten matchup?
Yeah, I would too, but I think that line's pretty sharp, the total there. I have to say, Purdue, just isn't the same team on the road, though. Obviously, they have the talent. So this is desperate frickin' times for Michigan State. I mean, this is it. I thought it was pretty desperate, and they got their ass whipped at Iowa. Max is in the chat. Yeah, Gabe Brown can't score. They can't score, and then they can't defend. I mean, they're just getting blown past. That could happen today. You got to think at home, is this the ultimate get by low here with Michigan State? Getting 5, early start. Can they do it? I don't trust them. So it won't be getting my money today. I'll be watching.
Yeah, I agree with that. Quickly, Furman Citadel, I like over the total in that game. I mean, they flew over the total in the first game. I think it was 102-83 in the first meeting, Furman and Citadel earlier this year. Total's 154. There's nothing else that needs to be said. I think you're going to see Furman is a very good offensive team, although they haven't been playing as well lately. Furman's been not covering numbers in recent games, and this is, for the Citadel, I believe the home finale here potentially in this game here for them. So I think it is. And you might see a good effort from them. So I actually lean to taking the points here with the Citadel. Like I say, Furman has they've been overvalued. They're a good team, Paladins, but point spread's caught up to them. They haven't been cashing tickets for their backers lately. I lean home dog. I like the over more in that game. Any thoughts there, Furman Citadel, Connor?
Yeah, mid 150s. So it's got to get there. I wrote down last night, I'd be on the dog here with Citadel. It's them or it just. Can they hit shots with this up and down? At times when they get into a stretch where they don't make shots and brick threes, then they get down by more than 10 and they could be screwed. Yeah, but I'd lean with the home dog here with Citadel a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, by the way, we'll have our guy Maxwell Smart coming on in hour 2 of the show for the added board, the extra board. And keep in mind, the added board games today, a lot of them are regular season finales. I think probably the majority of them are regular season finales because a lot of these conferences are going into the conference tournament this week. So great stuff as regular season winds down in a lot of these conferences. And I'm sure Max will have a ton of action on when he joins us later in the show. All right, North Carolina, NC State, little tobacco rivalry here. North Carolina -4. Road favorites, 151.5. The total. Or is that Duke, North Carolina? Either way, North Carolina, NC State, 151.5. The total, 152 in this one. North Carolina, to me, looks like they're starting to come alive just a little bit. I mean, obviously, they're a team that had their struggles earlier on, but we've seen them now win 4 of their last 5 games. Clemson, Florida State, Virginia Tech was very impressive on the road against the Hokies. Hokies were playing great going into that game, and North Carolina beat them again for a second time. And then they beat Louisville 70-63. Really good performances right now by North Carolina. It is revenge for NC State, but here's the problem. NC State's horrible right now. Just absolutely dreadful. They're 1-7 straight up, 1-7 against the spread their last 8 games. The only win and cover was Georgia Tech on the road. They've been horrible at home. It's hard to believe. But last 4 home games, Syracuse beats them. And Syracuse has been up and down. Notre Dame beats them by 12. Wake Forest crushes them 69-51 on this floor here in Raleigh. And then in the last game, that is the absolute bottom of the barrel right there. That's rock bottom for NC State. 6.5-point home favorites against lowly Boston College, and they lose outright 69-61. This is North Carolina for me, -4. I think they want to go on a run. They haven't totally given up on the tournament yet, getting into the NCAA tournament, and got to win games like this on the road against struggling teams like the Wolfpack. So I like North Carolina here, -4. Lean to the over as well, because we did see 180 in the first meeting between these two teams. And one thing is NC State's going to give up a lot, you would think, in this game against the Tar Heels, just like they did the first meeting. I mean, a lot of those 100 points that North Carolina scored in the first meeting, a lot of it was just, hey, we were out-muscled inside, and they got a lot of second, third chances, and I don't see what's going to change here. Conor, what do you think?
Oh, shout out to our guy, Jay Peasy. $10 dono, my man. He said he's still watching. I was pubbing. Catch you on the replay. For show, Jay Peasy. Shout out to you, my man, for supporting us here at Pub Sports Radio. The donos keep us rolling for sure. It helps everybody out here, definitely. This is North Carolina here, Ian, for me. NC State has gone from a team early on in the year playing decent basketball, covering, to just zero. And I have my problems with North Carolina. This is a team I don't think they can go far in the tournament. It's manic. When he's got to shoot the ball, if he's off, they could really struggle. So he's got to score 20 for him every night. But he's usually up to the challenge. Every once in a while he has these bad games, and it shows. But I know this is a rivalry, but I could only lay it here on the road with North Carolina as well. Tricky, but I'd only lay it.
All right, only would lay it here with North Carolina. I agree. All right, Kentucky, Arkansas. Big matchup in the SEC right in the mid-afternoon or 11 a.m. Pacific if you're on the West Coast. We've got Arkansas, 2.5, 3-point home favorites, 143 the total in this game. It's Arkansas at home. I ain't going against Arkansas at home. Not doing it. I think they can win this game because Kentucky's banged up right now. We don't know for sure yet what's going to happen with Ty Washington, whether he's going to play with that ankle injury that's kept him out of the last 2 games. Xavier Wheeler, the point guards, also missed the last 2 games with a right wrist injury, and they won both games. That's the impressive part against Alabama and LSU, 2 pretty solid teams, and still won those 2 games. Did Kentucky without Ty and without Xavier Wheeler going into this game. But now you're playing Arkansas, who's been maybe the hottest team in the conference for the last month or so, other than a 1-point loss at Alabama, which they could have easily won. They're that close to being 10 in a row in terms of victories. You know what was impressive to me about Arkansas is no letdown after beating Tennessee at home last week, 58-48. And I was on Arkansas last Saturday on this show. They turned around against Florida. You know, they kept
finally won there.
And finally won there, 82-74. Great job by Musselman getting his team just focused and ready, and no let up, no let down following that game against Tennessee. Great performance from Arkansas. And look, Kentucky has had some uneven performances on the road. They did beat Alabama, South Carolina impressively by doubles on the road, but they also, and of course we know what they did at Kansas. They absolutely laid waste to the Jayhawks in that SEC Big 12 Challenge game back in January. But they've also had some games on the road where they've struggled. The Tennessee game, they lost by 13. Auburn, they lost on the road by 9. So, and I think that's going to be a tough matchup. If you don't have good guard play against Arkansas, how are you going to handle the ball? How are you going to deal with that full court pressure? It's relentless. If you watch the Tennessee game last Saturday, especially at home, Arkansas seems to get teams totally off kilter. It's just the pressure rattles teams. They shoot the ball before they're ready, and as a result, it's a missed shot. And I find they do that quite. They're good at doing that, getting opposing teams, especially when they're playing at Bud Walton there in Fayetteville, getting those opposing teams totally out of their rhythm. And I think that could, like, again, you're talking about Washington and your point guard, Xavier Wheeler. So ball handling is a huge concern against a press team like Arkansas. So to me, it's a good matchup. To me, I don't know if Kentucky's going to be full strength. Even if they are full strength, if both of these guys play, will they be 100%? And even if they do play and they are 100%, to be honest, I still like Arkansas. And if anything, you might even get a better number closer to tip-off if we hear that these guys are playing. But I like Arkansas. I think they continue their home dominance. What do you think here, Connor?
I think both guards don't play, too. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why.
If you're Cal, you got bigger things on the horizon. Right? Yeah. You don't need to play them here.
That's what I feel. You got to think it catches up. I know they've won the last couple games, and they beat LSU, but they didn't cover that number. I'm with you. I've been Arkansas all the way, and we've been always on them at home the last couple years. It's just for them to now start winning on the road's been a real big step for them. So, yep, that Fayetteville, like you talked about, this is Arkansas or pass.
Yeah, definitely. Excuse me, definitely. I think they can get the job done here. All right, Iowa State, Kansas State. We've got Kansas State 3.5 point home favorites, 130 the total. This is one of my classic spots that I like at this time of year. Road underdog team in revenge for a home loss. And that's what we have here with Iowa State. They lost in overtime to Kansas State at Hilton Coliseum earlier this year. And now we got them as a road dog in revenge. And to be honest with you, I think they're the better team right now, to be quite honest with you. Iowa State. Otzelberger's done a solid job with this team. And I think Brockington's a terrific player for the Cyclones. I like this spot here for Iowa State, getting 3.5. Kansas State's still not always that kind of team you trust to win games by margin, which, of course, they have to do here, laying 3.5 in this game. They got to win by more than a possession. I think Iowa State takes this game right to the wire, and if not, wins outright. I like Iowa State here in this spot, in revenge for a home loss earlier this year. What do you think, Connor? Iowa State, Kansas State?
Yeah, I'm not huge on this side. Iowa State's kind of came back down to earth after playing so well so early on after being such a bad team last year. I like the under here a little bit better in this early spot. You get 131.5. There's just still feel you those out there. I think this is a dead nuts under. I think this is kind of a 1st to 60 win. So I like the under here. Iowa State, K-State.
All right, Texas, West Virginia. Texas 3-point road favorites, 132 the total. I mean, it's got to be Texas or nothing. I mean, I don't want any part of West Virginia. It's been just such a disappointment. Defense has fallen off. Offense too many times goes into scoring droughts, scoring lulls. It feels like we say that every year about West Virginia's offense. But what's shocking about them this year is they have not had the defense. They just haven't. I mean, that's been the most disappointing part about what we've seen from West Virginia. They've fallen off at that end of the floor. Texas can be a little sketch on the road. That's the only thing that would maybe give me some pause here, is that Texas at times has had a little bit of erratic play in terms of road on the Big 12 road, but that's about it. It would I would still look. I'm going to have Texas. I will be betting Texas here. It'll be a small bet probably, but it's just difficult to get behind Bob Huggins' crew right now with what I've seen. I just cannot find a way to close it. And even the games that are close, which have been rare lately. They just can't find a way to get that key stop, make that big shot late in a close game. What do you think, Connor?
This one's ugly. I want nothing to do with Texas laying points on the road with that dreadful offense, but they should be able to score. They dominated West Virginia early on, like 6 weeks ago. I remember watching that game early in the morning. You talked about Huggy Bear, this West Virginia team. No defense is what they're known for. I'm just off this one. I wanted a few more points. I kind of was going to look West Virginia but this is sharp at 3. I think the number. If it was 5 or 6, which I would have liked, I maybe would have looked West Virginia here. Maybe one last stand at home, but tough to do that when you can't score and then you can't defend too. So this one's a pass for me.
Yeah, if you can't score, you can't defend, what the hell do you have? You got to ask yourself that. Yeah, if you can't do either of them, you're in some trouble. No question. Just briefly on Cleveland State, Oakland. I kind of like Cleveland State here, plus 1.5 against Oakland. Revenge spot for Cleveland State as well. Oakland beat them on the road earlier this year in Horizon League play. So it's a little bit of a revenge situation here for the Vikings. And to be honest with you, I think the Vikings are in a little bit better form right now. Oakland was one of those teams that they were just rolling earlier on in the season. Non-conference play, they were a point spread juggernaut. Early in conference play, they were playing well. They've hit the shits a little bit the last few games, Oakland, especially from a point spread standpoint. I think Cleveland State might be a good look there. What do you think, Conor?
This one's a pass for me. Your Oakland is just not getting the job done lately, But this kind of numbers just win here at home, get it done. One thing they do, they just got to do it at crunch time. Cleveland State struggles to make free throws when I always watch them. Oakland, one of the better free throw shooting teams in the country. If they can get a lead here, I think they could put it away. But you talked about a revenge spot. Should be a good one here. High total. I don't know. It probably gets there, but I'd be leery of just taking the over 146.5 here. But should be a good one. Yeah, Cleveland State, Oakland.
All right. Yeah, it should be a good one indeed with those two teams, Cleveland State, Oakland. All right, let's continue along here. We've got Virginia Tech, Miami. Miami 1.5 point home favorites, 139.5 the total. I don't have anything here. I like both teams. I really didn't like the way Virginia Tech played against North Carolina. That was disappointing. They were in revenge last week. I thought they were in a good situation there, but they ended up falling short. And now they go on the road. They're just 6-5 straight up on the road. Miami's 10-4 at home. I guess I'd lean Miami if I had to. Miami coming off a blowout win against Pitt. I was shocked. I could not believe Miami was as low as 3.5, 4 on the road at Pitt. I thought that number should have been much higher than that. And they ended up crushing Pittsburgh 85-64, bouncing back from a tough home loss to Virginia. So we'll see how they fare here against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, after losing to North Carolina, which snapped a 6-game win streak, they came back. They did beat Georgia Tech, although it was close and they didn't cover 62-58. Miami beat Virginia Tech at home, in Virginia Tech, rather, 78-75 in the first meeting. It's actually been a sneaky over series history, believe it or not, with these two teams. Revenge for Virginia Tech is another thing to consider here. That's why it's a tough game. I mean, Miami's been better at home than Virginia Tech's been on the road, but it's revenge for Virginia Tech, and it's a tough game. And the last time I backed Miami at home was last Saturday against Virginia, Conor, and they didn't get it done. So back and forth I go. It'd probably be a pass. I would lean over. Miami's certainly been more of an over team. They got way more scoring than they've had in the past with Wong, McGusty, Charlie Moore and company. And meanwhile, you got Virginia Tech kind of on an under run. So that's the thing that's kind of taken me off that stance as well. But I'd lean Miami. I'd lean over, but I don't feel real strong about either. What do you think, Conor?
This one I've thought about a lot from last night because I looked up a lot of the stuff, whether in the series history and their last game, like you talked about, that went over that 78-75 game. But I could only take the under here. I think Virginia Tech doesn't want to get in a high-scoring game with Miami. I don't think that's going to work. They have to play solid defense. And if I were to take the side, I'd lean Miami at home. But if I got a 140 here, I could only play the under in this one.
Seton all Xavier 3.5 point home favorites here. So Xavier is lost it earlier this year, so revenge spot for them at home. But man, are they struggling right now? I mean, and how much did that crazy, insane game against Providence take out of them for this game? That's going to be the question. I mean, that game was just nuts. 3 overtimes. It was a classic, actually. One of the classic regular season games in college basketball that you'll see. It was just back and forth. Terrific shot making, both sides. Wild game. Takes a lot out of you. Can you rally back now after a real tough loss, falling short to Providence there, coming back just a couple of days later and playing Seton Hall? We're going to get all up in your grill. That's the way they play Seton Hall. So we'll see how Xavier handles it. This is kind of a conflict game for me. Seton Hall, whenever they're catching points, I'm always interested. That's usually been a good bet over the years, but not been as good of a bet this year because Seton Hall's just been so up and down like a roller coaster ride. And you do have Xavier at the Cintas Center here trying to avenge a loss to the Pirates earlier this year. So I think from a situational standpoint, you got to lean Xavier a little bit, but how much did the Providence game take out of them? And can they? And they're not exactly playing great ball. The last time they played here at home, St. John's wiped the floor with them. So it's tough to lay points for me with Xavier here in this spot, knowing they're struggling a little bit, knowing they're coming off this exhausting overtime marathon against Providence. How much is left in their gas tank today? It's a really legit question. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, how much is in the tank after that crazy, crazy game? We talked about with Max the other day. Seton Hall, no Bryce Aiken. It just hurts them. He's their guard, averages almost 15 a game. They just haven't been the same. But if you go off the numbers, Seton Hall's 4-0. Their last 4 ATS on the road. They've been good against good teams, winning records on the road, 14-6. I was looking up this morning. And Xavier's not been good at home, ATS, in this spot. I'd take the points with Seton Hall here, plus 3.5. I think Xavier, with Johnson still out, could have problems after that crazy game. So I take the 3.5 with Seton Hall here.
All right, liking the Seton Hall here, plus 3.5 in this one. All right, Auburn and Tennessee. Back we go to the SEC. Tennessee, 3-point home favorites, 140 the total in this one. I think Tennessee might be the way to go here. I was hoping it was closer to Pick'em than this. I was hoping Pick'em -1 on Tennessee. Didn't get so lucky, unfortunately. 3 for Tennessee here at home in this one. Now, we know Auburn has had some issues on the road. There's no question. We're starting to see that with this Auburn team. You lose to Arkansas. You lose to Florida. That one really stands out because Florida's nowhere near as good as Arkansas. And now you got to go on the road and face this Tennessee team. And look, Tennessee, I've got my issues with Rick Barnes, and I still have my doubts they can do anything in March. Let's be honest. Has Rick Barnes ever done anything in March?
Yeah.
Never. I mean, but this Tennessee team, will give him some credit that right now he's regular season Rick. That's what he is. He's regular season Rick because his teams play well in the regular season, and this team's playing very well right now. 7-1 straight up. The only loss was at Arkansas. No shame in that. Arkansas is beating everybody on their home floor. And other than that, they've been covering a lot of numbers too. Mississippi State, South Carolina, A&M, Kentucky, big home win for them, 76-63, their last home game here in Knoxville. They probably get it done. I mean, Auburn is just showing me way too many warts and way too many flaws lately on the road. And Auburn's been kind of a burner here. 1-5 ATS their last 6 games, and 0-4 ATS their last 4 road games. So that tells you just how much Auburn's struggling a little bit here in this one. Again, I was hoping for more closer to Pick'em -1, but if I have to lay 3, I'll lay 3. I lean Tennessee for sure. I actually think the game could slip over the total at 140. I mean, Tennessee has actually improved their pace numbers just a little bit this year. At home, I think, look, and at home, we've seen them score 76, 73, 90, 78 in their last 4 home games. If they score mid-70s and approach 80 in this game, Auburn's going to get at least 60. They're too good offensively, Auburn, even on the road, to be held to less than 65 or 66 points. So as long as Tennessee gets to what I think they will, mid-70s, approach 80, I think this game's definitely going over the total here, 140. So that's what I like here as well, the total. What do you think here, Connor?
I like that regular season Rick. I guess it's still February. We're still in February. So I bet you Tennessee wins this game because as soon as March hits, he'll lose. They'll lose in the conference tournament and then be bounced out right away. But a lot of people are saying, and I keep hearing it, but I've heard this before, this is a different Tennessee team, that they're getting it done, and later on in the year they are playing better. Auburn's been a bit shitty on the road, but Bruce Pearl, he wants to beat his old team here. If he can't get Auburn up for this, even though how shitty they've been on the road all year long, just a tough one. I'm off. I thought if you could get Tennessee just -1, but the lines makers know what they're doing. Tennessee's been great at home. Auburn's been horrible on the road. Put out the 3 and let it sit there. So that's why it's here.
Here's the one fly in the ointment for Tennessee. Auburn's had their number. 6-0 straight up, 6-0 against the spread the last 6 meetings for Auburn against Tennessee. Yet they're still favored by 3.
Still
Here
favored
at
by
home. Not just pick them or -1. They're favored by 3. That's telling. Telling that maybe this is the day for Tennessee to finally get a victory. And by the way, the over is cashed in 8 straight head-to-head with Auburn and Tennessee. 8-0
Wow.
to the over in the last 8
Let me write
meetings.
that down.
I'm looking at these scores: 77-72, 149. You had 148. You had 139. You had 148, 164, 174, and 164 in these games that have gone over the top. So there's one single game out of these last 8 head-to-heads. They all went over, but only one of these 8 games has had less than 140 points, which is this total today. So another reason why I think the over is a good look here in this one. All right, next up, we've got Florida State, Virginia. Virginia, 8.5-point home favorites, 123 the total. Probably going to be a pass here. Virginia trying to bounce back from losing to Duke, obviously, at home earlier. Duke was in revenge, of course. They lost at home to Virginia at Cameron Indoor. Duke got their revenge against Virginia. I just don't love laying 8.5 with this team. You know, I like them in a short favorite role. I like them in a pick 'em role. I like them catching points. I don't love them laying 8.5, but it's very difficult to trust Florida State right now at this stage of the campaign. What do you think here?
Yeah, this Florida State team just in shambles, just tons of injuries, and they just gotten their ass whipped the last month of the season. I think they've kind of packed it in. A lot of high expectations, and Leonard Hamilton's done a great job over the last 20 years, but yeah, it's been hard to watch. Virginia wins at just the perfect number here at 8.5. Yeah, there's never a team that barely scores, gets 60 that you want to lay 8.5 with. I joked with Max the other day. North Texas is a team that gets it done. They can still cover and keep a total under. But yeah, it's Virginia or pass here.
All right, Louisiana Tech, North Texas in Conference USA. We've got North Texas 6-point home favorites, 127 the total. This is the one and only team in the whole conference that I'm reluctant. Now, this has been a lot of overs in this conference the last few weeks, but this is one team I'm always reluctant for overs, and that's North Texas. They want to grind you down into the half court. They want to slow it down. They're very good defensively. And they're laying 6 here against Louisiana Tech, which, you know, I wonder about this spot here for North Texas, who I was on them last week. I know you were as well, that big game against UAB, a revenge spot for North Texas. They pulled that game out and found a way to get it done, 58-57, a very low-scoring game. No letdown either. They beat up on Southern Miss 85-61 in their next game, but you know, I could still see them having a tougher time here. Louisiana Tech's a solid team. The problem for Louisiana Tech is they are dealing with a couple of key injuries, although it looks like they might both be back today, the people in question. You know, the one thing about Louisiana Tech, they haven't been a great point spread team, but they've been favorites in a lot of these games where they haven't covered. Now they're a very rare underdog going into this game. So they actually might be worth a look. And by the way, the road team and the underdog combined 15-2 ATS the last 17 meetings. The road team and the underdog, and that's what we've got here. And I think the Bulldogs are pretty good as dogs. Yeah, 16-6 on the road ATS last 22, 7-2 ATS their last 9 as a road underdog. Louisiana Tech. Something tells me this is a close game. I mean, Louisiana Tech, you know, it looks like they're going to be healthier than I thought going into this game. It was an ugly defensive game against Rice, but they found a way to win. Kenneth Lofton's a great player for this team. Keaston Willis, Amari Archibald, Kobe Williams. But Lofton's definitely the guy that stirs the drink here for Louisiana Tech. And his presence inside could keep Louisiana Tech hanging around here a little bit. So I kind of like the Bulldogs here, +6. This has definitely been their point spread role on the road and catching points. What do you think here, Conor?
Shout out to Don't Ask, Don't Tell with the 11 dono. Hashtag we be probing. Shout out to my guy, man, for the dono. We appreciate it for sure. Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Regular donator. Thank you, my man. God damn, this is tough. North Texas, I like them catching points, and even when they lay points, they can get it done. I know the Dogs done well. I can't get a grasp on this Louisiana Tech team. You know what I mean? like you said, they're better in this dog role. I don't love it. I'm going to stick to the total. Obviously, kind of missed the boat from last night, but there's still a few 126.5, 127s. I still think it stays under. I mean, it's North Texas and Virginia, the two slowest teams in the country. North Texas will slow this down. I think it even stays under this number.
That's hard to argue with that. Thank you for the dono. Yes, indeed. Don't ask, don't tell. We appreciate it very much. All right, we move on here as we continue along. We'll have Maxwell joining us in about 15 minutes or so for the added board. Towson and James Madison. I want to bring this one up. Towson, 6-point road favorites, 142.5 the total in this matchup. When you look at this game between these two, Towson's been very good in this conference. No question about that. This is one of those conferences, though, Colonial, where in the conference tournament, the best team doesn't always win that conference tournament. There's sometimes some mayhem, so keep an eye on that. But no doubt on paper right now, Towson's been the best team in this conference. I mean, at both ends of the floor, they can score and they can play some solid defense. There's no question about that. They've had a very solid season, pretty much start to finish. Wilmington's actually 14-3. They're 13-3, but I still think Towson's a little bit better than Wilmington defensively, and I think that's still what separates these two. James Madison, I don't know. I was caught in a rut with James Madison with their totals. I had a lot of success betting them over in January, early February, and I kept riding the overs, and then they were starting to go under. I jumped off the James Madison overs after a few losses, and now they're starting to go over again. The last two games, Wilmington and Towson. Both of those games went over the total. This is a rematch here. Of course, these teams played earlier this week at Towson, and it was all Towson, 84-65. Now it's a rematch here with at James Madison. And keep in mind, Towson is still trying to, grab us at least a share of the first place regular season title in the Colonial. So this is important for them. Towson still this game. So I don't buy in fully to revenge because for Towson, this is a very important game. Do I want to lay 6 now? I'd lean that way, but I'm not sure I'll get there. Total might get there again, 142.5, because we did see these two teams end up going over the total in their last meeting. 2 of the last 3 games have gone over, and the one that stayed under barely did. It was 141 in that game. It barely stayed under what you're seeing with this total at 142.5. So lean over. Lean Towson. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, Towson's just been so freaking good and all year long. They just kept it going. So, but I'd pump the brakes a little bit, laying here 6 on the road. I kind of like James Madison. Obviously, we have a ton of games today. I don't know if I get to the window with it. And you're right. I mean, a James Madison game, the only way I could look is over. Even how good Towson's defense can be, just probably better at home than on the road. So I'd lean over a little bit as well.
Next up, we've got, I'll throw this one out there in the Big South here, or in the SoCon rather, Samford and Chattanooga. Samford's rolling point spread wise right now.
Yeah.
I've been very impressed with them. They've turned it on. Offensively, they're rolling. Defensively, they're starting to actually get stops, and that wasn't happening earlier in this year. Just for a team that I've started to catch up to how good they've been, how much more competitive they've been, and they're in their point spread role that they've been just absolutely a cash cow lately. That's catching points in a bigger underdog spot. They were against Furman in their last game, and it was a very impressive game from Samford, and Furman's arguably the best team in this conference, certainly one of them. Now they're playing Chattanooga here. You look at it, I think it's a winnable game in this spot here. Or not winnable, but I think Samford can compete in this game. The one thing about Chattanooga is they're not always a team that will put away a team and win by margin. I think I got to look at the underdog here, Samford, that have been a little bit of a late season point spread surge from them. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, Chattanooga, just a solid team, very workmanlike. So that's why, I don't like laying these numbers with them. And what Samford ripped off, 6 or 7 straight ATS and won games outright. Just like the other day. I lean to the points with them here. It's their defense on the road, though, because that was always been their problem in the past. Yep. Can they because Chattanooga that's what they're known for, really just grind it out, good team, good defense, efficient scoring. So I'd lean the points. So, just roll with Samford here. Like you said, just keep on taking them until they get an L.
You're right about that. Just keep on taking them until they don't cover anymore. That's basically the way to go. All right, next up, we've got, as we continue along here, Wilmington, Delaware, just briefly. I like points to be scored in that game. Wilmington, I kind of lean Wilmington too, +5. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the betting markets have just been so struggling to adjust to Wilmington. Of course, they had an incredible point spread run going there. That kind of cooled off point spread wise lately. They're 1-3 ATS their last 4, but Drexel was in revenge, and they still went on the road, beat Drexel in their last game, and they're trying to maintain top spot, in this conference, and they're getting 5. So it's not like Wilmington's just mailing it in here. In this one, 10-1 ATS their last 11 as a dog, 8-1 ATS their last 9 road games. This is where they've been just absolutely butter, as some basketball announcers would say. That's basically what they've been. Drexel road dog, won outright. Hofstra road dog, lost by 2, but they covered. They were getting 6 in that game. To me, this is definitely a Wilmington spot for me, and I like the over as well. So it would be Wilmington. You can get 5.5 at DraftKings. Wilmington +5.5, and also looking over. What do you think?
Yeah, Delaware still winning games, but they haven't been covering,
No.
all the time. So kind of limping to the finish line. I lean the points as well, and I think there will be points. One thing with Delaware or Wilmington, they're a second half team, and they score a ton of points. So if they're down, even this is a good live bet. They've been great, and defensively not always the best, especially on the road. So I'm with you. If they're in this one, I think it's got to be in the 70s. So I'd lean to the over as well, 143.
And one more from the Colonial, Charleston Drexel. Series histories, 3 straight overs, I believe, in the series history with Charleston and Drexel. It was 154, 79, 75 back in February, a couple weeks ago. Charleston's basically, Pat Kelsey said to them, we got to get back to the running and gunning after they lost to James Madison, and our offense just stalled in that game. And since he said that, man, the pace has gone up. 3 straight overs, 77, 83, 99 against Delaware in their last game. All 3 games have gone over. Drexel's trended under in 3 straight, but Charleston's flying over in their current form, and the series history's been overs, 155 and 154 in the last 2 meetings. So an over for me here in that game with Charleston and Drexel. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, the sharp line, though, it's moved. It was 150 and a half. It's moved. It's 152 now, so it's gotten there. But I don't think I'm going to play this one. I think this is a solid game. Just nothing on the side. I think Drexel can win here at home, but I don't want to lay the 3.
All right. UCLA, Oregon State, just quickly, 13.5, 138. Oregon State's horrible, although they did give USC a ton of problems and headaches in their last game, which was surprising to me. But before that, I mean, it's just been hideous for the Beavers. And they're probably getting a foul, angry, pissed off, not very happy UCLA team after losing to Oregon for a second time this season. So this is probably road favorite or pass type of spot for me. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, I want nothing to do with this. I do have to say, Oregon State, just a slew of injuries, just been a horrible year after that great run last year. But they've been an over team. I mean, UCLA could score 85. UCLA's played really good defense, and they've been an under team as of late. But I think that's why this total's come down. But Oregon State plays 0 defense, so I'd be leery of this total.
All right, good stuff indeed. VCU, UMass. Next up in the A10, we've got VCU 6.5-point road favorites, 142 the total in this one. I got to lean over here because VCU 6-0-1 to the over their last 7. UMass has gone over in 3 straight. They don't play any defense. And VCU, I'll tell you what, with Ace Baldwin and Vince Williams both on the floor, their offense they finally have an offense. That's been the difference. And then you're getting Keyshawn Curry and Jaden Nunn stepping up lately to go with Williams and Ace Baldwin. So remember this team couldn't make a basket to save their lives early in the year? Well, it's a much better offensive team all of a sudden, VCU. Look what they're doing, 85, 77, 72, 3 of their last 4 games. They've been going over modest totals in the 130s and late or high 120s. Now, we are seeing 142 here, so we're seeing a little bit of an adjustment, but it's actually a low total for UMass because UMass plays fast. They score a little bit. They don't play much defense. I think it can get over the total in this one. And as far as VCU is concerned, I actually like the way they've played on the road. They might be able to take care of business here against UMass. And I lean to lay in the 6.5, but I think I like the total just a little bit more. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I don't like this game very much at all. VCU's rolling. Now you got to lay the 7 on the road. UMass is just folded. They, like you talked about, they don't have a defense at all. Can they put up a fight today? I don't think so. VCU is just way tougher. I'd lean with them, but now I know this is lower for UMass. I'd watch this total. Maybe UMass defense is so bad that VCU scores 85, like you talked about. With Baldwin's playing really well at the point, but I don't know. Right as soon as they were mid 130s, and now I see a 142, it makes me want to look under. Their defense just shuts UMass down.
Portland, Santa Clara. I'm bringing this. I've got a bet on it if I'm bringing this game up. Santa Clara, 10-point home favorites, 152.5 the total. Give me Portland here. I love the transition in this team down the stretch. Shante Lagan's a great head coach, great hire from Eastern Washington, did a great job there, took him to the tournament, Eastern Washington, last year. And he had no roster to work with this year at the very beginning. A totally rebuilt, reconstructed team, struggled mightily early in the year. Even in conference play early on, they took their lumps. But look what they've done here the last 10 games. They've covered 8 of those games. They're on a 6-game win streak going into this game in West Coast Conference play, beating San Francisco, the Dons on the road, wins against Loyola Marymount, San Diego at home, Pepperdine at home, Pacific on the road. 6 straight wins. They're getting a bunch of points because they're taking a bit of a step up in class. Santa Clara is like in that top 5 group of teams in the West Coast Conference. But I think Portland can hang in there. Remember, they went to San Francisco, even better than Santa Clara, and won the game outright. That was the best team they've played during this win streak that they've been on. They have shown the ability to step up. They got smashed by St. Mary's and Gonzaga, but a lot of teams are getting smashed by those 2 teams. I think this is too many points. I like the way Portland's trending. Don't be surprised if Portland's like in the upper echelon of the West Coast Conference within a year or two. This is a really good coach they hired from Eastern Washington. All he did was win there at EWU. Give him time at Portland. They could be a better team in this conference in the next few years. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, I've been back in Portland this whole time as well. Santa Clara, though, starting to play really good basketball. They're healthy with pipes in them. 10's a lot, 10.5 here. I lean Portland as well in this spot. What I talked about, now they were 4th or 5th. I think they're 2nd or 3rd now, free throws in the country at almost 80%. They have 5 different guys. They have 4, a 5th one, all in double figures. Robertson, all these guys, they can shoot. They get to the free throw line. So that's good when you're on a dog catching points, a team that can hit their free throws, make some threes, especially if you need a backdoor cover, and that could be today. And there should be points in this one. Whether it gets over this 152, I don't know. But there should be points aplenty, and I think 10's too much here. I'd be with you with Portland.
Yeah, I think Portland definitely a good way to go here in this one. Getting a bunch of points. And you're right. It's like this coach, Shante Lakins, he basically says, if you can't make free throws, you're not playing for me. Because all of his teams, even Eastern Washington, good free throw shooting teams, and you're seeing that here with Portland. I don't want guys that can't shoot, can't make a friggin' jump shot. I don't want any Ben Simmons on my team. You got to be able to make a jump shot. You got to be able to make a free throw. And if you don't, you're not going to play. I think that's the kind of mindset he's taken here. St. Bonaventure, St. Joe's. We've got St. Bonnie, 7-point road favorites here, 140.5 the total. So this team, I love this team coming into the year, and it greatly hurt me and my feelings and my bank account a little bit because they were just going through a
You
swoon
and
there,
Max.
and Max too. And I know Max loves his St. Bonaventure Bonnies too, but that was then and this is now. This team is 6-0 in their last 6 games. They've covered all 6, or actually 5-0-1 ATS. You might have gotten a push with the UMass game that they won by 12, but every other game they've won, and they've won handily, by 25. They beat St. Louis on the road by 7. They beat them in the rematch again, beat UMass by 12, and then just annihilations against Duquesne and Rhode Island in their last 2. And they're playing the St. Bonaventure defense I thought they were capable of.
Yes.
Like, this team's terrific. I thought they brought it back everybody. They got a bunch of seniors. I like Mark Schmidt as a coach. He's great. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here earlier in the year? You got Kyle Lofton, you got Dominic Welch, Jaron Holmes, Attaway, you got Oshun Ashuni, the big guy, Koulibaly. You got tons of experience, loaded with seniors. What the fuck's the problem? Why are you struggling so much? Why are you disappointing so much? And now it looks like, you know what it is? Sometimes you need to get close to March and you need to just feel that the tournament is right around the corner and you flip a switch and you get into tournament mode. And I think that's what Bonaventure is in right now. They're locked in. They're focused. They've reeled it in. They've got their game back. I think they go into St. Joe's here and roll them. I agree with the move. 5.5 up to 7. I'd lay the points here. What do you think, Conor?
Yeah, St. Joe's very pedestrian team all year. Not very good, not very horrible. St. Bonaventure's starting to roll. This is the team from early on in the year when they had those good wins against good teams, and they just hit that shitty lull and no defense. Defense is back. I'd look under here in this too. I think if that defense comes to play, this is like they're one of their 72-55 wins. That they could have like a classic Bonaventure style win. So. I'd lean under here a little bit. You've missed the line of, open 5.5. Now there's 7.5s everywhere. So tough to take it now, but I'd lean Bonaventure.
Right. Next up, we've got de facto regular season conference championship game, essentially, in the Missouri Valley. Loyola Chicago, Northern Iowa. Loyola Chicago, 2.5-point road favorites, 137.5 the total in this one. Loyola Chicago coming off just a beatdown over Evansville, 82-31. It was kind of like William and Mary Part 2. Evansville only scoring 31 points against Loyola Chicago. Northern Iowa, I mean, this team offensively is just incredible. It's the best offensive team I've seen in years out of Northern Iowa. AJ Green, Noah Carter, Trey Burhow, Nate Heiss, Taiwan Pickford. I mean, they can go 6 or 7 deep scoring points. I mean, they are a very good offensive team. They've lit it up the last 2 games. They lost to Loyola Chicago back in February, big 85-58. It was a whitewash in favor of the Ramblers. And look, you have to respect the Ramblers. The Missouri Valley's gone through them. The last few years.
Yes.
But to me, this is Northern Iowa for me. I like the way they're rolling at home. I like the way they're shooting the ball. They're a home dog. There's been some games where Loyola Chicago has not been overly impressive. They barely beat Valpo. They lost to Drake at home. Squeaked by Illinois State. Some weaker performance. Lost at Bradley. They've had some strange results as well, and they've been overvalued in the betting markets. They're only 3-7. ATS their last 10 games. So you got Northern Iowa here at home. They've played great ball at home this year. I think either way, if Loyola Chicago wins, we got like a photo finish. We got down to the wire. You can grab 2.5 with Northern Iowa's home dogs here. I like that number. I like that spot. I actually think the game goes over just simply because I've been riding Northern Iowa over. I mean, their totals have been just totally too low every game because they have not adjusted to how much better they are offensively. For years, they've been a half-court team, slow-down team, better defensively than offensively. It's not that way this year with Northern Iowa. So I think at 137.5, and it should be a close game. You could get those a late foul fest to help you as well with the over. So I like the over as well. What do you think, Conor? It's a regular season crown on the line, essentially. Missouri Valley.
Yeah, the only thing that could bring out the defense, but both these teams just keep scoring, like you just mentioned. Yep. Our guy Teese likes the first half over. Maybe you look at that as the second half, a little bit more defense. But if both teams are shooting the way they've shot kind of the last month of the year, I could only look over the 137.5 in this one. And it should be a good game. I mean, like you talked about, Loyola Chicago's ran this for the last few years. Huge game for Northern Iowa. Can they get it done? Yeah, I have nothing on the side. I like the home dog a little bit, but I'm not going to play it, I don't think.
All right, there we go. Good stuff. And it's hour 2 of the show, which means it is time to bring in the added board, extra board king, college basketball specialist here at Pub Sports Radio. You see him, of course, every day on this show, including Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. Maxwell Smart in the house. Max, what's going on?
Sorry,
You're
boys.
mute.
I was on the mute button. I didn't want to start talking while on the mute button. I always talk while I'm on the mute button. Today is a different day. This is a mega slate. I've enjoyed the first hour of the show, listening to you guys work, and I'm excited to be on the show with you guys. But I'll say this, Ian. I'll say this right now. Conor knows I want a lot of things from the chat, and if I don't get a fucking 100 likes in the next fucking 20 minutes, I'm not giving out a best bet, and it's an additional spread one. Okay, I'm gonna be a dick about it. It's Mega Saturday. Show some fucking love.
Yeah, exactly. As we say on the NBA Pub Show, Dutch says it. He has me saying it now. Don't be motherfucking respectful. Hit that like button. There we go. Let's go. Hit that like button. We appreciate it. All right, Max. It's a huge slate in the. Go ahead, Conor.
No, I just touch on this game, Max, since we're about to get off
Loyola
it.
and Northern Iowa. It's a great game right here.
Yeah, I think that with Northern Iowa, this is a good opportunity for them to actually freaking go out and end the conference season with a win against a team that literally this is a stepping stone for them. You're getting Loyola Chicago playing their best basketball of the season, but I do think that if Northern Iowa gets Noah Carter and Nate Heisey going along with AJ Green's normal production, free throw shooting could come into play, and that's where I like Northern Iowa in this game.
Yeah, exactly. Better free throw shooting team. That could matter when you're talking about a competitively lined game near a pick'em like this. Max, we've got a huge added board slate. There's a lot of big games. To me, Wagner Bryant stands out above the rest, if you ask me personally today on the added board. But we'll start with your first added board look, Max. What do you got?
Yeah, listen, I think that when we look at some of these spots here, we have to look at what the motivation is, what the seeding ramifications are. And I think that going to the first game on the board today for the added board, which starts in 55 minutes, is Binghamton versus New Hampshire. I think that with these two coaches, you have the youngest coach, the newest tenured coach, and then the oldest tenured coach going up against each other. I think that with Binghamton, there are question marks with their roster right now, with Jacob Falco only playing 8 minutes last time out. They're going to need his production today, along with Bertram and freaking McGriff and freaking maybe even Kellen Amos if he can get back in the lineup. But this is a tough New Hampshire team to mess with at home with my fellow Canadian, your fellow Canadian, Ian Blondie Teshkoengo. He is a serious point guard, a guy who can freaking go off for a big game, lock down defensively, and is a goddamn bulldog. I think New Hampshire wins the game, but I think it's just too many points.
Take the underdog there, says Max. And I love the Canadian college ballers. I like to see them they're doing well, producing for their teams. It's a wonderful thing, no question. Conor, any thoughts on that one?
No. I love the Canadian ballers too.
There you go.
And I love when you guys bring them up.
They're really, really good. And there's a bunch of them that are really, really good too. You got how many games have you got, Max, today?
I got a handful of games. You guys throw to me when you want to, and I'll lock down something on the added board.
All right, there we go. All right, so we'll go to a main board. We got a few more. Actually, we don't have too many more of the really big ones to talk on the main. We got a few more, including this one: Wisconsin, Rutgers. Rutgers 2.5-point home favorites, 132.5 the total. So I know people might knee jerk to Wisconsin here because of the revenge factor. Obviously, they lost at home in Madison against Rutgers earlier this year. They can have Wisconsin in revenge all they want. I ain't going against Rutgers at home. Simple as that. Not at the rack. Not doing it. It'll be Rutgers or nothing for me. Because Wisconsin's obviously trying to avenge that first game, yeah, I might stay off, but I'm certainly interested at the very least with Rutgers on their home floor. The question for Rutgers is going to be, they've had Ron Harper Jr. banged up a little bit the last couple of games. Believe he did still play, though, against Michigan. He did 19 points, but it wasn't enough as they lost by 9 in that one. They've had back-to-back losses on the road, and now they return home. But they played Purdue, tough place to play, and obviously Purdue was in revenge as well. Both of those teams were. Michigan and Purdue both lost at Rutgers, so they both were looking to earn some redemption. They did. So even with Wisconsin trying to bounce back here, and look, they're playing all right. They beat Michigan down in that crazy game where Juwan Howard was throwing fists. Indiana on the road. They beat Michigan State on the road. They just squeaked by Minnesota in their last game. Keep in mind, of course, they've got the situation where because of what happened last Sunday, they've got a couple suspensions, although limited in terms of production, that the impact of those suspensions for Wisconsin. So it's not a huge impact on this game in particular. I haven't bet it yet, but I lean Rutgers. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I am gonna bet it. It's Rutgers. I don't give a shit of the revenge for
I hear
Wisconsin.
you. Yep, they're an animal. They're a monster on the at home. Rutgers.
Yeah, seems like Davis could get hot, and this game could be tight. I'd lean under. Obviously, Rutgers at home, they play a lot better defense than on the road. It seems like on the road, you lean over. At home, you lean under. Yeah, it's Rutgers time, G. Martinez. And maybe we'll touch on that game. Shout out to Jay Money in the chat. He says, go Gamecocks. That might be too many points today at Alabama. We'll get.
Have they found something? Because oftentimes I've said Johnny Davis carries this team, and they don't have a lot outside him. Wall can show up sometimes. Davison's not bad.
Yeah.
But have they found something in Stephen Crow for them? Because this guy only averages 9.6 points per game, and he suddenly scored 11 and 20 in the last 2 games. And if that's going to happen now moving forward for the Badgers, boy, it all of a sudden makes them a little bit more difficult to defend if this guy's going to produce like that moving forward. So keep an eye on that. Do you have anything on this, Max?
Yeah, I love this game, but I love it for a reason that not a lot of people are going to think about. I'm sure after I talk about it, they're going to start thinking about it. But I'll say this, Ian. I like this Wisconsin team total in the first half over 30.5. I think it's a very obtainable number for them. And even in a low-scoring game that will stay under full game, you could still score 31 points in the first half. And Wisconsin's been able to do that game in, game out. Doesn't matter the situation.
Maybe a little bit low on the team total because playing Rutgers, playing better defense at home, maybe slow it down a bit. But because of that, you're getting a low number that might be too low, says Max, with Wisconsin team total there in that first half. We'll go to one more main board game, and then we'll get back to one of Max's looks on the card. Duke-Syracuse. We got Duke 7.5-point road favorites, 152 the total. I mean, this is a tricky one because I don't know if I trust Syracuse right now. I mean, it's Jim Boeheim's basically saying, we can't stop anybody around the rim. I mean, he basically threw his centers under the bus after the last game, saying we just can't defend around the rim and in the paint, and that obviously is going to be a major problem here, potentially going up against the great power forward that is Paolo Banchero in this game for Duke. How are you going to handle him? If you're Jim Boeheim in Syracuse, after hearing that, you get a little bit concerned. It feels like for Syracuse, and sometimes against Duke, especially at Carrier Dome, you can see them rise up and hang tough in a game. I think the last time Duke went to Syracuse, Duke covered. It was a close game most of the game, and then Duke pulled away late, and they got the point spread cover. I could see something similar. I lean to the Cuse because it's desperate times for them. They're right firmly on. They might not even be on the bubble. I think they're closer to the edge of the bubble rather than actually like the last 4 out or something like that. They really need to put a run together if they're going to make a case.
They'll let them in.
Yeah, somehow, some way. I just see them going on a run. If not winning today is going to would help them immensely, obviously. But certainly if they go on a run in the ACC tournament, they'll find every way to try to get Syracuse in. That's usually how it works. That's usually the deal when it comes to them. So I lean to the Cuse, but I just don't know if defensively they have a matchup here that works against Duke. That's the concern here in this game because Duke did whatever in the first meeting. But I know you're probably going to get a spirited, inspired, desperate sense of urgency effort from Syracuse. Question is, will it be enough? Lean home dog, but not with authority. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I'm with the home dog here. I think
very good.
I think they gotta bring it. I think the Carrier Dome's gotta be rocking. Kind of would bring this team. If they don't win, I don't think they get, they lose here by 8. There's 7.5 basically everywhere. They're so, like you talked about though, Ian, they're so bad defensively at times, Syracuse, and Duke did whatever they want in the first matchup. But these are two great coaches who know each other well, and they know this zone. So, but I take the points with Syracuse here. Desperate times. Boeheim brothers, hit your shots. They cover here.
There he is. Yeah, exactly. This is a game where Jimmy and Buddy, you got to show up here. Be a buddy to Connor Mack and make some shots today and help him win his bet, please. But be a buddy to Connor today. Just have a good day offensively. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a Duke first half full game team total spot. If Syracuse's back end of the zone with Frank Anselm is useless and literally just a pylon over there, then we know what's going to happen. AJ Griffin's going to go off for a big game. I think he's the X factor tonight. And listen, it's tough to play in that Carrier Dome. And I'll say this: I agree with Conor. Right when we think that Syracuse is down and out for the knockout, they come up and they sting us. So I'm
That's
not
right.
falling for that.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way, no doubt. Wouldn't surprise me if Syracuse right in this game from start to finish wins the game. It also wouldn't shock me if they're like competitive for like 35, 36 minutes out of the 40, and then Duke finds a way to cover in the last 4 minutes. I could also see that happening because I think that's what happened the last year when they played at Carrier Dome. All right, Max, your next added board play. What do you got?
This is not going to be a popular play, but I am going to one of my favorite conferences. I am the Northeast governor. I am a self-appointed governor, and they don't pay me a lot. They pay me zero, but I am going to get paid off this game, Ian, and that is FDU versus LIU. Now, guys, we know situational spots are huge, but with this situational spot, I don't think it's going to work out to the presumptions of the betting market. FDU got a brilliant performance from Brandon Rush. Don't think that he's putting up another 36 points because this game is not on national television. But I will say this: Greg Herenda has this team ultra competitive internally to get minutes. You don't play well, you don't play at all. And I love that. So I do think that they are going to come out, they are going to fight. And what they have, which not a lot of teams in the Northeast Conference can say that they have, is a star in the making big man in Anquan Hill, who matches up perfectly against Errol Penn or Ty Flowers or Isaac Conte. So I think that FDU is going to get a nice performance from one of our fellow Canadians, Sebastian Lamoute. And I do think that Brandon Rush scores 20, not 36. And I do think that first half plus 8.5 with FDU has been a moneymaker. And I think it will go back to being one today.
Yeah, I mean, prior to the last game for LIU Brooklyn, when they faced Merrimack and they covered and won by 11 in that game, they weren't exactly good as home favorites, prior to that game, LIU Brooklyn, not at all. And at Fairleigh Dickinson, you're looking for these little bits of evidence that these bad teams are fighting and competing and scrapping late in the season. And you're seeing that the bad season, obviously, for FDU, the sieve defensively, no doubt, but at least you're seeing them fight down the stretch. Bryant, they hung point for, it's hard to hang point for point with Bryant. We know that team very well. They're explosive as it gets with Kiss and with Pride. And now they got Calixte in the line in the starting five. And since they've done that, they've been just a juggernaut offensively. We know what Bryant's all about, but they hung point for point with them for a while. And then beating Wagner was an impressive win, 88-86 in overtime.
Crazy, yeah.
Maybe Wagner caught looking ahead to Bryant today for the big winner-take-all regular season crown game against Bryant in the NEC today. But still, you got to give Fairleigh credit for winning that game. So I'm with Max here. I see why he's liking the points here with Fairleigh Dickinson here. Conor, what do you think?
I like it as well. They really started to play their best basketball. Max is superb at catching these teams when they're playing great. And I love it when he brings in this information. So if he's on it, I like it. But we got to give real quick. We got to give our shout outs to our donos we missed here, guys. To our guy, Jay Kaiser. Let's get this money. And to my guy, Tony Brewster, always supports Pub Sports Radio. So does Jake. Always donate. 10 bones from him. Keep up the good work. Shout out to Tony Brewster, my man. Thank you.
Yeah, Tony Brewster, thanks for the dono. We appreciate it. You know what? Because Fairleigh Dickinson was on my list of added board looks today, and I like that analysis so much, we're going right back to Max for another. Max, what do you got?
Okay, so this is a game that obviously we have a very tight line on, and I'm very suspicious of why it is. So this is a two-pronged attack against Gus, my local. New Orleans versus Northwestern State. First off, what do we know about this conference? This is probably one of the top 3 over conferences just blindly betting them in college basketball. And when you have Northwestern State against New Orleans, Northwestern State is no freaking bare bone freaking cupboard. They got freaking Carvel T-Sit. They got Kendall Coleman. These are two really nice building blocks if they can keep them in school. So they'll be able to put some points and put pressure on New Orleans to score the basketball. But in the end, when we look at Troy Green, when we look at Derek St. Hilaire, not only are they able to drive to the rim and get to the paint with expertise that I wish I had, they also hit their free throws. New Orleans, -1.5. New Orleans, team total over 79.5. I think that we may see 165, 168 points.
You're singing the same tune I am with that game. New Orleans has been a point spread team for me for several weeks now. I mean, they've been undervalued in the betting markets. They've been very good. They're one of the few teams that will actually D up a little bit in this conference. And I like where you're going there with that New Orleans team. They've definitely been putting some money in my pocket the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we'll see if they can do that again here today. We've lost Conor. He's bounced out for a bit, so it's a good time, Max, to go right back to you for another look. What do you got?
Yeah, no, I think I'm actually going to go to the main board right now. There are just so many sweet spots, and I do think that I'm going back to something that's been good to me. I'm going to the Ivy League. I'm going to the Yale-Cornell game, and a lot of people are going to know what's going to come out of my mouth right now. Cornell, first half, team total over 34.5. It is a money winner. If Cornell's hitting shots, if Cornell is getting the pace and tempo, which Yale is going to allow them to do, they're not going to try and slow them down. I do think that regardless of the score at halftime, both these teams may put up 35 plus points. So Cornell has Jordan Jones. Cornell has Patel being able to freaking give you that complimentary scoring and facilitation. I think that they get up for this game at home, and they didn't play last night, so you don't have to worry about any kind of tired legs or reverse total mentality that we see with the Ivy League. Cornell, first half, team total over 34.5, Ian.
And I'm on the full game over, so pretty much in agreement because I like that full game over. I actually got in on it, a good number at that before it went up earlier this morning. So very happy to see that we're going to get good closing line value, at least with that full game total on Yale and Cornell. And Cornell, one of the absolute fastest paced teams in the entire country. I mean, they just it's like a blur watching them play. Just they get that ball down the floor quickly, try to look for the best, most available, quickest available open shot they can find. That is Cornell basketball right there, and we'll see if they can light it up early for Max in the first half this afternoon against Yale. All right, Max, another game you got. What do you got?
Yeah, listen, Ian, I think that when I look at this board, obviously there's so much to choose from, and I obviously like the added board because the games end earlier. I don't have to stay up till 2:00 in the morning like our friend Matt Randall is on his taint play of the day, Hawaii -5.5. But I'm going to go down the board, and I'm going to stop on a play that I think that is just it could be what I call sexy time. Central Arkansas and Lipscomb. What do we see from these teams over and over again? Extreme offense. And that's what I'm hoping for once again. Lipscomb's playing a little better basketball right now, Ian. And I think that having their shooters out of this shooting funk makes such a big deal for them. And coming in against Central Arkansas, you know that Central Arkansas is going to be able to run and gun against you. And the way that I want to attack this game is I want to see proof of it early. You know, I want to see proof of freaking Central Arkansas being able to go bucket for bucket with Lipscomb. But that 76.5, it may seem high to a lot of people. Not to me, though. I think first half over, 76.5, Central Arkansas, Lipscomb with the pace, tempo, shot attempts that they get, 3-point attempts that they get, and free throws that they make just equals 80-plus points.
I'm on over 161 in that game, so hopefully full game gets there as well. Central Arkansas and Lipscomb, no argument there with that. Should be a lot of points, and a lot of times I find these 161 totals, they're at 161 for some people get scared, right? 160. Anytime it's a 160, some people get scared off and over. And I say usually it's 160s for a reason. And okay, last night maybe a little fortunate for me that I had a total in this very same range last night with Iowa and Nebraska, and it did end up going over the total. Kind of fortunate with a lot of points in the final minute, but still goes to my point that, hey, these high totals in the 160s, they're often that high for a reason. You got two teams that are superior, much superior offensively, and I think you're going to see that here in this game for sure. All right, we'll go back to the main board. We'll continue our main board analysis. Hopefully Connor's able to join us here, and he'll get his thoughts on this next game we're going to bring up on the main board. But it's South Carolina and Alabama. We've got Alabama 11-point home favorites, 155 the total. I'm riding the wave, Max. Riding the wave with Frank Martin's crew here. I mean, this team has shown some life here lately. They're getting 11 and a half in this game. They're on a point spread run that's pretty impressive right now. Now, have they played teams that like the caliber of what they're going to see today for much of these recent performances that South Carolina's had? No, but still, they beat LSU. It's a pretty solid win. At Ole Miss, pretty solid defensive team at least. They won that game. They took apart Mississippi State. They were wire to wire in that. They've covered 5 straight. And here we go again with Alabama. I mean, they've been dreadful as home favorites here in Tuscaloosa at the Coleman Coliseum. I mean, they won by 5. They won by a point against Arkansas. Didn't cover in those games. Lost to Kentucky. They've just not been good laying points at home. Even against Missouri, they won by 8. And they were 18-point home favorites in that game. So Alabama's had a tough time covering numbers at home. It's definitely been an issue for them. When I look at South Carolina, Max, 27% from three-point range allowed defensively in the last 5 games. That is critical when you're playing a team like Alabama. Too many points. I mean, I just think South Carolina's got it going here. South Carolina plus 11 for me. Smaller lean to the over. I like that side, though. Any thoughts, Connor, or Max, on this one?
Yeah, no, I think that this is definitely a spot where the numbers saying South Carolina or pass Alabama has not made you money betting this number all season. I don't expect them to start making it for you now against a South Carolina team that's finally healthy. And if Jermaine Couisnard is able to drop a 30-burger like we saw him a couple games back, this is South Carolina team that's well coached, plays to the end, and is a backdoor covering machine in my estimations under Frank Martin.
I've seen them in instances earlier this year. Yeah, not giving up in a bunch of games, even when they're down by a big amount. I like this revenge spot in Conference USA. Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee. We've got Middle Tennessee 2-point home favorites, 144.5 the total in this game. Now I know Middle Tennessee's on an incredible run right now, 7-0 straight up, 6-1 against the spread. It's not easy to go against them. They beat Western Kentucky on the road outright as underdogs, 93-85 in the first meeting between these two. Their only loss was at UAB. I mean, they've been on a very impressive run. So is Western Kentucky. All right, Western Kentucky's won 7 straight going into this game against Middle Tennessee. Like I said, a redemption spot for them now on the road, catching points as underdogs. I think that's a good spot for the Hilltoppers to be in. And how am I going to argue with 23-9 ATS their last 32 games as a road underdog? And, they've covered road underdog numbers against power conference teams as well early in the season. So, again, this is going to be a close game. I think Western Kentucky can pull it out, though. It's an open 3. It's down to 2. I can see why the money's moving that way. As much as it's not easy to go to bet against, it's not easy to bet against the Blue Raiders right now. I think this spot is screaming Hilltoppers, and I like WKU here. We'll let Connor settle back in. Max, did you have any thoughts on that game?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a game that I think that screams team totals. When I look at this Middle Tennessee and watch them play, they will not allow a defense to really keep them down aside from the quality that you get with North Texas. Western Kentucky is an emotional team. Their guards are emotional. Watch a game and you see Cam Justice, that's how this is a guy that came back. He's probably a 6-year player by now. And you know what? He was watching this team struggle. He was watching this team needing something. And he came back, got eligible, and now is making a big difference. I think that Western Kentucky is going to score maybe 37, 38 points in the first half in this game. I think that 35.5 is their first half team total on the ad spread. And I think that at plus 155, it's a juicy number to get on. And that's what I'm going to be riding.
All right, we got Conor with us again. Conor, what do you think here? Good one in Conference USA here. Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee.
I would only stick with Middle Tennessee here at home. I'd lay the 1.5. Just keep riding them, and I'd only look over. I know it's come down a little bit.
Yep.
I just don't think it's I think the number's about right here, mid 140. So, but I'd lean over.
Yeah, they flew over the total the first meeting, 93-85. Last year they had two meetings. One was very low scoring, one was high scoring. So, but still, two of the last three, I'd lean over as well in that game. All right. And by the way, we talked while we were gone in the main board, Connor. The only main board game we talked about while you were gone was South Carolina, Alabama. I'm on the points with South Carolina. They're on a roll right now. What do you think of that game?
Yeah, that's the one that Jay Money threw in the chat. I agree. Just Alabama, they basically have to shoot it so well, which they cannot do. I think to cover a number like this, even at home, I know they've had some good wins, but this South Carolina team is playing its best basketball right now. Has been gritty and a gritty dog. So I lean the points as well. If you can get 11 here.
And by the way, I'm going to throw this one out there. Just a battle of two teams in Conference USA that have just said we don't give two shits anymore about playing any sort of defense. Southern Miss and Rice, give me the over there. 146 and a half in some spots. They have given up playing defense, both of those teams. I think you just see points. You bet for the over there and look for points because neither of these teams has stopped anybody lately. Connor, Southern Miss, Rice, any thoughts there?
Yeah, zero defense being played, and Southern Miss is pathetic, but no way I'm laying that many with Rice, even though they do play better basketball at home.
Yeah, you can't lay 15, but it can't take Southern Miss either. That's how bad they've been. What do you think, Max?
I like Isaiah Moore and Tyler Stevenson. I'd love them in a big underdog spot, and I just don't trust Rice. So if I were to get a free bet, I would take Southern Miss. It's not popular, but that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, I mean, they're both can't play defense. The difference is you're getting 15 with at least one of the two teams. You're left in the late 15 with the other. So I get the case for a Southern Miss just based solely on that, no question. All right, let's do one more main board game, then we'll get back to Max with another play on his card. Arizona, Colorado. Colorado, 10.5-point home dogs here, 153.5 the total in this one. Obviously, it's not easy to play in Boulder, win in Boulder. Arizona, though, has been damn good. Obviously, we've seen them play great basketball. They beat Utah on the road 97-77, thrashed them. They've got that offense just rolling again, 92, 97, 84, 83 the last four games. Three of them have gone over the total. Can Colorado somehow hold them down? I'm not so sure. I think this game could go over, and I agree with the move up in this game. I'm just not really looking to go against Arizona at the moment. They crushed Colorado at home 76-55 earlier this year. Colorado's formidable at home. We've seen them, they have some decent performances.
Not against Arizona State.
Not last time. No, not last time against Arizona State. And I like Arizona too much to go against them. So that's where I'm at. I would bet over, if anything, here. What do you think, Connor?
I pass. I can't. I want to take Colorado as a double-digit dog here at home, but I don't know if they can even get it done against this Arizona team that's just talented. That can score. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I'll bet it later. We'll see.
Still in the hunt for number one seed, too, in the NCAA tournament, Arizona. So there's still a lot at stake for them. They want to keep winning just for that reason. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a spot that I'm staying away from.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little tricky to lay that many on the road. All right, Kansas, Baylor, then we'll get back to Max. Baylor, 3-point home favorites, 147 the total. This is a pass for me. Hopefully you got a little more on this than I do, Connor. I mean, Baylor in revenge, I get it, but they've just not looked like the same Baylor team with LJ Cryer's absence, with Jonathan Tchamwa-Tchatchoua, who's been just a big hole to fill in the interior for this Bears team. They just have not looked quite the same with the injuries and the personnel they've been without lately. And Kansas is really starting to play really good. I mean, they just put a crooked number on the board against Kansas State earlier this week. Yeah, it's revenge for Baylor. I just don't like the form enough to lay 3 with them at home. What do you think, Connor, here? Big 12 showdown tonight.
Yeah, I will. Give me Baylor here. Minus 2, and there's 2.5s out there. I know Cryer's out. I don't give a shit. This is revenge. Kansas played their best basketball game.
It's a good point.
When Baylor went there, I watched the whole game. I mean, Kansas just rolled. Baylor remembers that. The Bears go out and kick the shit out of the Jayhawks today. Lay the 2.5 with Baylor.
All right. Revenge time for Baylor here against Kansas. Did play almost like a perfect offensive game against Kansas State. And oftentimes you do see a huge regression the next game. Will we see that tonight for the Jayhawks? All right, Max, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I love the test that Baylor has right now. This is a big game for them to show up and show that Kendall Brown and Jeremy Sokan can step up and fill some of this void. But like you said, without JTT, bro, that is the difference maker. I think that they've played well without LJ Cryer, but without JTT anchoring that freaking man-to-man defense, vocalizing and leading that team on the floor defensively, that's what hurts them the most. They got to run. They got to go to the bucket as often as they can. And the faster and higher scoring this game is, the better it's going to be for Baylor.
Let's go back to Max with the added board looks. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go to a real ugly game on the board, and it's a real risky game, Ian, because Morgan State's been playing their best basketball of the season, and I thought that this was a team that was going to make me a shit ton of money this year, and they really just weren't that team. I think that when I look at their opponent today and I look at the quality that you're getting from this Delaware State team is they can minimize their disadvantage on the O-glass. They can minimize their freaking turnover issues and sometimes their carelessness with the ball. But Martez Robinson and freaking Miles Carter and freaking Zach Kent, all these guys are experienced. They know what it is right now. And Delaware State at home has been a moneymaker for me for the last freaking month or two. I think that this is a spot where it's just too many points. We've seen them in this point range before. They've been successful doing so. I expect Delaware State to cover the 7.5 points. Morgan State may win the game, but I don't think that they're routing them or winning them by 8. So I'm taking the Hornets at the Hornets' nest.
I was on a show earlier this week talking about this very team, Delaware State, that these teams that are in these very low-level conferences that are horrible at the beginning of the year, that stink at the early part of conference play too, like this team did, certainly at least from a point spread standpoint.
They couldn't even field a team.
Yeah, I know. But and they're still not winning games, Connor, but that's
they're
not the
covering.
point. The point is they're covering every single game. They're getting so many points that they're staying well within these numbers. Look at these last several losses. South Carolina State by 2. They had the 12-point loss at Morgan State, but I think they'll play a lot better against them today, as Max said. Coppin State lose by 2. Howard lose by 5. Maryland Eastern Shore lose by 8. Howard lose by 13, but they were getting 19 there. Lose by 3 to Norfolk, which was probably the most impressive game they've had although NC Central was a pretty good, impressive game too. They probably should have won that game. They lost in overtime. They led most of it. And then South Carolina State last game, they get inside the number, lose by 5. You just got to keep taking the points with them. 100% agree. I mean, you just keep riding this wave here with the Delaware State team, no question. All right, Max, what else you got?
Yeah, obviously with this board, I have tons of options, and when I look at this next spot, it gets me a little excited because I love the Patriot League. It's a great conference if you're into that type of betting. And when I look at the numbers and then I look at my betting model numbers for my first halves, at least, I see Loyola Maryland at that first half team total at 29.5, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. It's senior day for American. American's best players are all seniors. We may see a weird starting lineup. Loyola Maryland may be able to take advantage of that and score a quick 5 or 6 points. And hopefully by the 10-minute mark, they got 20. I think that this is a spot where American may be able to go bucket for bucket with them because, like I've said before on the show with Conor during the week, I say often, if American hits jump shots, American is in games. They did not hit jump shots in the second half of the second half of the first half versus Lehigh. That's why they went on a 34-11 run. I don't think that happens on senior day, but Loyola Maryland putting up 30 points in the first half, that seems elementary.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that for sure. All right, how many more games do you got, Max?
I only have one more game. That's my best bet game.
All right, we will save that for the end then. Perfect timing to ask that. All right, Creighton Providence. We got Providence 5-point home favorites, 136 the total. I'm on Creighton here. I just think it's difficult for Providence to they won the game against Xavier, but it was such an emotional, exhausting, physical, taxing game against Xavier the other night, triple overtime. Creighton, I think, is playing some great basketball right now. I mean, to go on the road against red hot St. John's earlier this week and beat the Red Storm, I liked what I saw from McDermott's team there. They played terrific. They got stops when they needed it. I think Providence now is a little bit of a risk, even at home again, laying points after just what they went through against Xavier. That game had it all. And you just wonder if there's any gas left in their tank. They're laying not just points, but 5 now against a quality Creighton outfit. I think Creighton with the points is the way I'd go here. What do you think, Connor?
This is a pass for me. Providence has been so good at home. Creighton dealing with a few injuries. Just a pass.
All right. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, no, losing Ryan Nembhard to that wrist injury, and he knew immediately that it was broken, is just so tragic because he is a fantastic collegiate point guard. And when he comes from a spot that we all know in Ontario, in Aurora, and you can get to D1 from there, you know that you're a fucking special player. So I just think that this Creighton team comes out with some emotion today for Nemi. And I think that with that team total at 65.5, they're going to be able to eclipse it. So I think the Blue Jays play inspired today for their point guard.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's a big, that's why, and I know there's a huge loss, no question, but it's kind of like the NBA theory put into practice here for me with Creighton. First game without him, you step up, everybody does a little bit more, and you overcome it. And again, I think it's just a horrible spot for Providence here in this game as well. So that's why I like Creighton a little bit here. And yeah, that Nembhard family, I mean, those two guys, Andrew and Ryan, terrific basketball players, both of them. So proud of the way they've played. Represented Canada, the Great White North as well. And Gonzaga, of course. Look at the improvement in Andrew Nembhard at Gonzaga this year. I got to wax poetic about it just for a second. He's just been amazing for the Bulldogs this year. No question about that. All right, let's move on here to just a couple games left here on the main board, and then we'll wrap things up. Gonzaga and St. Mary's. We've got Gonzaga, 11-point road favorites, 145 the total. It's always the same with Gonzaga and St. Mary's. St. Mary's always tries to, get their hopes up that maybe finally they can upset the apple cart, hang with Gonzaga, and every time they end up disappointed. And a lot of times they end up getting destroyed by this Gonzaga team. I mean, you go back to early 2020, 90-60, 86-76, 84-66, 73-59, 87-65, 78-55, 74-58. It's been one Gonzaga beatdown after another over St. Mary's. I mean, it's always Gonzaga or pass, and I never bet Gonzaga. I always say I could only bet Gonzaga against this team, and I never bet Gonzaga against this team. But if I would bet this game, that's the side I'd be on. How do you trust St. Mary's? They've just been bitch slapped every time by Gonzaga, and we know what Gonzaga's capable of. That was impressive going on the road, wire to wire against San Fran the other night. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, I think it's Gonzaga or pass. As crazy as that, usually there's always one road game for this, and this is going to be back-to-back San Fran here, St. Mary's. But, yeah, I don't know if I can get there. I want to take St. Mary's, but this Gonzaga team just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. And then they're going to get to the tournament and face some real teams and lose.
I think they're going to beat a lot of really good teams in that tournament, quite honestly.
I think they'll beat teams, but will they go all the way? I mean, that's the focus now with this team. I mean,
they got to win the title or it's disappointing. Everything they've done this year, 100%. That's where the bar is right now for this Gonzaga team. Max, what do you think here?
Obviously, I'm biased towards Gonzaga because I just have so much distasteful things to say about Randy Bennett. I want St. Mary's to crash. I want them to get burned. I want Gonzaga to serve them the coldest, iciest, disgusting cock soup ever imagined. And I think that Gonzaga can win that first half by 6 or more points.
Yeah, first half Gonzaga, or team totals over first half for Gonzaga have usually been a pretty good bet this year, no doubt. All right, we're going to group these two games together, and these will be the last 2 or 3 games together. Boise, UNLV, Colorado State, Utah State, USC, Oregon. Boise 1-point road favorites, 128. Just quickly, I've been burned going against UNLV a couple of times. I'm reluctant to do it. Now, Boise's great. Boise obviously has had a fantastic season. No denying that. 22-6 near the top at the Mountain West standings, no doubt. Big win against San Diego State at home, although I think that was a weak call to give Boise those 2 free throws to help them beat the Aztecs the other night. But UNLV's rolling right now, and they're in revenge for losing at Boise, and they covered in that game. They were right in the game at Boise. I like UNLV a little bit here. I'm leaning Rebels here, plus 1.5. Boise off a huge nail biter against San Diego. I think UNLV could win this game, and they're getting 1.5 at home. I lean UNLV there. I could only take Oregon against USC. Dana Altman and Oregon, they always get going this time of year, February into March. They start winning games. They start covering numbers. Look out. I think it's their time. USC is just flighty to me. I like Oregon to lay in the 4.5. Colorado State, Utah State's a pass. Colorado State kind of regressing a little bit, not nearly as good. They've been burning some money point spread wise lately. But I don't know if I want to lay 2.5 with Utah State. So UNLV and Oregon are the stronger opinions for me of those 3 games. Conor, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I might. That Boise just wins on the road and these crazy nail-biting games. They talk about the Providence luck. Man, UNLV's playing its best basketball. That game is a must-watch. I really don't have a bet for at the line that it's at now. All the money here, this line's moved for Oregon to 4.5. So yeah, I'm off there. I'd lean under. I think that total's a little high in that Oregon SC game. And lastly, I'd look over in Colorado State, Utah State. I know Colorado State kind of has played to the under, but Utah State wants to score. I think Colorado State will score. I think we can get over 138 there.
All right, Max, did you have any leans or on those 3 games?
Yeah, definitely going to be on Boise. I ride with my guys until they die, and that coaching tree from Mark Few that includes Leon Rice, they just been winning and cashing. No reason to go against it. UNLV is playing fantastic basketball, and I've been burned also, but I'm still going with the Broncos. Oregon, USC, no thanks. I would just tail Conor on that, and what was the third game?
Colorado State, Utah State.
Yeah, Utah State first half team total, Utah State full game team total. Yeah, I agree with Conor with the points.
All right, points and a lot of them for Utah State in particular. All right, there we go. Now, we've only got 1 game left for Max, but it's his best bet, so we'll save that until after the break. 264 live viewers. Hit the like button. Make sure you do that. We appreciate it. We'll wrap it up with best bets coming up. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, Manscaped. Promo code PubSports, 20% off your purchase, Lawnmower 4.0, or any Manscaped product. 20% off with promo code PubSports and MyBookie.ag, NBA, college basketball, NHL, UFC. Sign up for an account. Great time of year. MyBookie.ag, Bitcoin accepted currency for your deposit. MyBookie.ag, promo code PubSports. A couple people in the chat. Yeah, I could only take Arizona State against Utah. It is revenge for Utah, but Arizona State's a machine right now.
And Utah is playing zero defense. I mean, I think that can get over the total.
Yeah, that might be a good over. I agree. UAB, UTEP. UAB lost to North Texas last weekend. They did bounce back, though. We'll see if they can keep. That's just a lot. UTEP, you can mine for units with them when they're catching points. They have definitely been cashing some tickets as dogs, so maybe UTEP's a look there. That's the lean. I didn't bet those games, but just wanted to answer those two in the chat. All right, best bets. Max, let's start with you. What do you got for best bet?
Yeah, I'm going to the Patriot League, and I'm going to a team that is by far the hottest team in the Patriot League team. Colgate is more than just a toothpaste. They're a men's basketball team that you can wager on and make your local hate your guts. I'm taking Colgate very plainly, very simply, for their catch and shoot ability, for their versatility with Keegan Records and Jeff Woodward. And I do think that with the inconsistencies offensively from this Navy team, this could be a blowout. So I am taking the number 1 versus the number 2, and I am taking Colgate minus 9.5 plus 125 at home for them to show Navy you don't want to play us in the Patriot League championship game.
All right, there you go. Colgate, a terrific season once again from them. They get the job done. They're laying 7.5, 8 right now against Navy. That is the best bet for Maxwell Smart for this Saturday. Actually, they're laying 7, I should say, in some spots. So make sure you get the best of that number. -7 Colgate against Navy. Conor Mack, best bet?
Yeah, I was looking about 4 or 5 of them. We'll go with the big game. They're going to take care of business at home. Not that high on this Kansas team. Baylor, -2.5. Okay.
All right, Baylor, -2.5. Best bet for Conor Mack. My best bet's going to be those Northern Iowa Panthers. Wow, wow. It's trying to be my Panthers sound there. Northern Iowa +2.5. One of the games of the day. Missouri Valley Conference Championship regular season title on the line here. I like Loyola, Northern Iowa +2.5. Home underdog. I think they get it done. I think Ramblers have been living a charmed life at times. Some unimpressive wins and some bad losses. Some great results too, but I think they're walking into a surging Northern Iowa offense, and they'll find a way. And the better free throw shooting team catching points as well. Northern Iowa +2.5 against Loyola Chicago. Best bet for me. That'll wrap it up for net profit for a Saturday. Join Maxwell Smart, Conor Mack Monday to Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern for net profit throughout the week. College basketball, and of course me and the NBA Pub Hub crew right before them, 4 p.m. Eastern, Monday to Friday, right here on Pub Sports Radio. Great stuff with Conor Mack and Maxwell Smart. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Let's cash some tickets on the college hardwood, and we'll see you again Monday for NBA Pub Hub and Net Profit College Basketball. Have a great weekend. UFC, by the way, live stream later today, I believe, for the fight card. So make sure you're aware of that as well. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll see you again Monday for more basketball betting chatter right here on Pub Sports Radio.